Have you ever felt your heart race when someone disrespected you? Your mind immediately searching for the perfect comeback? Or maybe you froze, unsure of how to respond, replaying the moment over and over later. What if I told you there's a way to handle disrespect that not only diffuses negativity, but also leaves you feeling stronger, calmer, and completely in control? A response so subtle yet powerful that it can transform the entire dynamic of a situation and even change how others see you. Imagine standing in front of someone intent on provoking you, their words sharp and designed to sting. You don't flinch, you don't react. Instead, you pause, meeting their gaze with a calm that says, "I'm unshaken, and I refuse to play your game." They expect chaos, but are met with serenity. What happens next? They are left to wrestle with their own behavior, while you walk away with your dignity intact. This isn't about ignoring disrespect or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about transcending it, reclaiming your peace, and standing firm in the knowledge of your own worth. Today, let's explore how the simple practice of calmness and stillness can disarm even the sharpest attacks, showing the world and yourself that you're unshakable. 1. Respond with calmness and stillness. When faced with disrespect, our natural instincts often push us toward reacting. Maybe we defend ourselves with sharp words, retaliate with an equally cutting remark, or try to prove our worth in the heat of the moment. These reactions, though understandable, can often escalate the negativity rather than dissolve it. But what if there were a different way, a path that not only diffuses the situation, but also leaves you feeling more empowered? This is where calmness and stillness come into play. Picture this. Someone throws a cutting remark your way, their tone sharp and their words laced with the intent to provoke. They expect you to snap back, stumble, or even justify yourself. Instead, you pause. You meet their gaze, steady and calm, with a quiet that speaks volumes. You refuse to be pulled into the whirlwind of their emotions. Your silence is not passive, it's deliberate, and it shifts the power dynamic instantly. The person who sought to provoke you is now left grappling with their own behavior. They expected chaos but are met with serenity. This moment of stillness is disarming. Why does this work so effectively? In Buddhist teachings, there's a concept that resonates deeply here: upekkha, or equanimity. This state of inner balance allows us to remain unaffected by external provocations. When we respond to disrespect with calmness, we are practicing equanimity, refusing to let the actions of others dictate our emotional state. It's not about ignoring the disrespect, but about transcending it. Let me share a story to bring this idea to life. A young monk once asked the Buddha, "Master, how should I respond to those who insult me?" The Buddha replied, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The monk answered, "To the giver." The Buddha smiled and said, "So too with anger and insults. If you refuse to accept them, they remain with the one who brought them." This teaching reminds us that we have the power to reject negativity simply by not engaging with it. Here's something fascinating to ponder. When you choose calmness in the face of disrespect, you not only disarm the other person, but also gain insight into their motivations. What drives someone to be disrespectful? Is it their own insecurity, frustration, or unhappiness? By not reacting, you allow yourself to observe them more clearly. This act of quiet observation can lead to profound understanding, not just of them, but of yourself. What if every moment of disrespect were an opportunity? An opportunity to demonstrate self-respect, practice patience, and show that your peace cannot be disturbed by external forces. The next time someone tries to provoke you, try this. Take a deep breath, pause, and respond with stillness. As you stand in your calm, you may notice something surprising. The situation loses its intensity, and the other person, unsettled by your refusal to play their game, begins to reflect on their actions. This approach doesn't just diffuse negativity, it strengthens your inner foundation. Over time, you'll find that the more you practice responding with calmness, the less power others have to disrupt your peace. You'll become a mirror that reflects their behavior back at them, but without adding fuel to the fire. This quiet strength is not just a tool for handling others, it's a profound step toward mastering yourself. So imagine this scenario the next time you're met with disrespect. Instead of reacting, Visualize yourself as a still lake, undisturbed by the ripples others create. Let your calmness be your power, and let your silence speak louder than words ever could. This is not just responding to disrespect, it's transcending it. 2. Harness the power of intentional silence. Have you ever considered that silence could be one of the most powerful responses to disrespect? Not the kind of silence born from fear or passivity, but intentional silence, a deliberate, mindful choice to hold your ground without uttering a single word. It's a response that doesn't just protect your peace, it turns the spotlight back onto the one who disrespected you, forcing them to confront their own words and actions. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people equate it with weakness, thinking that to stay silent is to surrender or to let someone get away with their behavior. But in truth, intentional silence is a display of strength. It's the quiet declaration, I will not let your negativity take up space in my mind. When you choose not to respond, you're choosing yourself over the drama. You're sending the message that their words are not worthy of your energy. In Buddhist teachings, this concept is beautifully illustrated by a well-known story. A man approached the Buddha, hurling insults and accusations. The Buddha remained silent, calm, and unmoved. After the man left, one of the Buddha's disciples asked, "Why didn't you respond to him?" The Buddha replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The disciple answered, "To the giver." The Buddha smiled and said, "So too with anger and insults. If I do not accept them, they remain with the one who brought them." This teaching holds profound wisdom. Your silence becomes a shield, reflecting negativity back to its source. You are no longer a participant in their game, and without your participation, their behavior loses its power. Let's explore why this works. When someone disrespects you, they are often seeking a reaction. Perhaps they want to provoke anger, spark a debate, or simply feel a sense of superiority by pulling you into their negativity. But when you respond with silence, you deny them the reaction they crave. Suddenly, their words hang in the air, exposed for what they truly are. Without your response to dilute or deflect the impact, the weight of their disrespect falls back onto them. It's as though you're holding up a mirror, allowing them to see their own actions clearly, perhaps for the first time. Now consider the psychological impact of silence. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone suddenly falls silent? The absence of words can feel deafening, even unnerving. This is the power of intentional silence. It creates space for reflection. In the face of your silence, the person who disrespected you is left to fill that space, often with their own discomfort. They may start questioning themselves. Why didn't they respond? Did I go too far? Was I wrong? Your silence plants a seed of doubt in their mind, a moment of self-awareness that words could never achieve. But there's more to this practice than just disarming others. Silence also transforms you. It teaches you patience, strengthens your emotional resilience, and reminds you that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Each time you choose silence over reaction, you reclaim a piece of your inner peace, reinforcing the truth that your value isn't determined by someone else's words. Here's something to ponder. What would happen if you treated moments of disrespect as opportunities to practice intentional silence? Imagine a colleague makes a sarcastic comment during a meeting, clearly trying to provoke you. Instead of reacting, you pause, look at them calmly, and say nothing. The silence is not an admission of guilt or submission. It's a statement that their words have no hold over you. You remain grounded, centered, and in control. The ripple effect of that moment is profound. Not only does it shift the dynamic, but it also reinforces your own sense of self-worth. Intentional silence is not about suppressing your feelings or avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing when and how to engage, ensuring that your energy is spent wisely. This practice doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect, it means you rise above it. It's a refusal to give negativity the attention it seeks, a way to protect your peace while subtly encouraging others to reflect on their behavior. So the next time you're faced with disrespect, try something different. Instead of rushing to respond, pause, breathe, let the silence stretch. Watch as it unsettles, as it creates space for something deeper, an opportunity for growth, both for you and for them. Silence, when intentional, is not just the absence of words. It's the presence of power. Third, stop explaining and defending yourself. When was the last time someone questioned your decisions and you felt the urge to explain yourself? Maybe it was a friend asking why you didn't attend a gathering, a colleague probing into why you chose a different approach at work, or even a family member questioning a deeply personal choice. For many of us, the need to explain or justify ourselves feels almost automatic, as though their approval validates our choices. But here's the hard truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Your life, your choices, and your values are not up for debate. In today's world, people often feel entitled to know why you do what you do. It's not uncommon for someone to ask probing questions, not out of genuine curiosity, but as a way to challenge or undermine your decisions. This sense of entitlement can make us feel cornered, compelled to defend our actions or prove that our path is the right one. But let's pause and consider, why do we feel the need to explain ourselves in the first place? Is it to avoid judgment, to seek approval, or to convince others of our worth? And more importantly, does explaining ourselves ever truly satisfy the other person? Or does it just open the door to more questions and doubts? Buddhist philosophy offers a powerful perspective on this. It teaches us to honor our dharma, our unique purpose or path in life. Your dharma is deeply personal, a reflection of your journey, your growth, and your inner truth. It's not something that can be fully explained to others because it's yours alone to understand and follow. When we constantly explain or defend our choices, we risk diluting the authenticity of our dharma, allowing others to influence what should remain purely ours. Let me share a personal reflection. Years ago, I decided to make a significant life change. I left a stable, well-paying job to pursue a passion that was far less predictable, but infinitely more fulfilling. Almost immediately, the questions started pouring in. Why would you leave such a secure job? What if it doesn't work out? At first, I felt obligated to explain myself, detailing my plans, my reasons, and my hopes. But no matter how thoroughly I explained, there was always someone who doubted or criticized. It was exhausting. Then one day I stopped. When someone asked why, I simply said, "Because it's what feels right for me," and I left it at that. The silence that followed was both liberating and telling. The lack of explanation left no room for debate, and their curiosity quickly faded. This shift taught me something profound. When you stop explaining yourself, you reclaim your power. You show others and yourself that your decisions are valid because you made them. You don't need to justify your journey to anyone who isn't walking it with you. Think about it. Truly confident people rarely explain their choices. They don't feel the need to offer a PowerPoint presentation on their decisions because they're secure in their path. They understand that not everyone will agree with or understand their actions, and that's okay. Their focus is on living authentically, not on earning the approval of others. There's also an unexpected benefit to not explaining yourself. It teaches others to respect your boundaries. When you repeatedly defend your choices, you inadvertently invite others to question them further. But when you respond with calm certainty, you send a clear message. My life is not a discussion topic. This creates a boundary that is both firm and respectful. Now let's add a layer of curiosity. What if, instead of explaining your choices, you responded with a question? Imagine someone asks, "Why didn't you attend the party?" Instead of explaining, you smile and say, "Why is it important for you to know?" This flips the dynamic, encouraging the other person to reflect on their own motivations. Are they genuinely curious, or are they projecting their own insecurities or expectations onto you? This approach not only protects your energy, but also invites a deeper, more meaningful conversation if they're open to it. The next time someone questions your choices, resist the urge to explain. Take a deep breath, smile, and offer a simple, confident response. Because it's what I've decided. Or even better, say nothing at all. Watch how this subtle shift transforms the interaction. You'll find that the less you explain, the more at peace you feel. You'll stop wasting energy on justifying your life to others and start channeling that energy into living it fully. Ultimately, the journey to stop explaining yourself is about trust, trusting your intuition, your path, and your decisions. It's about recognizing that you are the author of your story and no one else gets to hold the pen. As the Buddha taught, you yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. So take that wisdom to heart. Stop explaining, stop defending, and start living with the quiet confidence that comes from Hono. Set boundaries and create distance. Have you ever felt drained after spending time with someone who constantly criticizes, dismisses, or disrespects you? It's as if their presence chips away at your energy, leaving you wondering why you continue to allow them such proximity in your life. Here's the truth. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your journey. And sometimes the most compassionate act you can do for yourself is to set boundaries and create distance. Setting boundaries isn't about anger or resentment, it's about self-respect. It's a way of saying, I value my peace and I will protect it. This isn't selfish, it's necessary. Think of your mental and emotional well-being as a garden. Allowing disrespectful people to trample through your life is like letting weeds overrun that garden. By setting boundaries, you're not shutting people out. You're weeding out negativity to make room for growth, beauty, and positivity. In Buddhist philosophy, this practice aligns with cultivating Sangha, a community of supportive, uplifting individuals who inspire and nurture your spiritual and personal growth. The Buddha often emphasized the importance of surrounding yourself with those who bring out the best in you. Creating distance from those who disrespect you isn't about rejecting them. It's about preserving your energy for the relationships that matter most. Let's consider this in action. Imagine you have a friend who constantly undermines your choices. Every conversation is laced with subtle jabs or overt criticism, leaving you feeling small or defensive. You might think, maybe they don't mean it, or it's just their personality. But here's a curious question. Why are you making excuses for someone who consistently disregards your feelings? What would happen if you simply stepped back? Distance doesn't have to mean confrontation. Sometimes it's as simple as prioritizing your time differently. Instead of meeting this person weekly, you meet them monthly or not at all. You might find that the less you see them, the lighter you feel. This space allows you to see the relationship for what it truly is. Are they someone who genuinely values and respects you? Or are they more invested in their need to dominate or diminish you? Here's a personal story to illustrate this. A woman I know had a coworker who was always critical of her work, often making snide comments in meetings. Initially, she tried to win their approval, thinking that if she worked harder or explained herself better, the criticism would stop. But it didn't. Instead, she started limiting her interactions with this coworker, focusing instead on collaborating with people who valued her contributions. Over time, the negativity no longer had a foothold in her day-to-day life. She wasn't bitter or resentful, she had simply chosen to invest her energy where it was appreciated. This idea of setting boundaries and creating distance can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been taught to prioritize others' feelings over your own. You might worry about being perceived as cold or uncaring. But let me ask you this. How often do you put your peace at risk to avoid disappointing someone else? And how much does that truly serve you or them? Creating boundaries isn't about building walls. It's about creating respectful distance. This space gives you clarity. It helps you evaluate whether someone belongs in your life or if their presence is more draining than uplifting. It also allows the other person to reflect on their own behavior. Sometimes stepping back is the wake-up call they need to realize that their actions have consequences. There's also a deeper layer to this practice. By setting boundaries, you model what self-respect looks like. People around you begin to understand that you won't tolerate disrespect, and this changes the way they interact with you. Over time, you'll notice that the relationships you nurture are built on mutual respect and care. But let's add a touch of curiosity. What would happen if you started viewing boundaries not as limits, but as invitations? Invitations to teach others how to treat you, invitations to protect your energy, and invitations to grow healthier, more meaningful connections. How might this reframe change the way you approach the relationships in your life? The next time someone disrespects you, ask yourself this: do they deserve the access they currently have to my life? If the answer is no, don't be afraid to step back. Remember, distance doesn't mean cutting someone off with hostility. It means valuing your well-being enough to choose where you invest your time and energy. Protecting your peace is an act of self-love. It's not about shutting people out. It's about letting the right people in. As the Buddha taught, you cannot pour from an empty cup. By setting boundaries and creating distance, you ensure that your cup remains full, allowing you to share your energy and kindness with those who truly deserve it. In doing so, you not only honor yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Stand tall and embody confidence. One of the simplest yet most profound ways to handle disrespect is to hold your head high, both figuratively and literally. There's a quiet power in standing tall, not as an act of defiance, but as a statement of self-respect. Disrespect often aims to shrink us, to make us question our worth or second-guess our value. But when you respond by standing tall physically, mentally, and emotionally, you send a message that's impossible to ignore. I know my worth, and your words cannot diminish it. Let's start with something intriguing. Have you ever noticed how body language can shift the energy in a room? A person who slouches, avoids eye contact, or keeps their voice timid often becomes an easy target for dismissal or criticism. But someone who stands tall, with their shoulders back and their gaze steady, exudes a confidence that commands attention, even if they say nothing at all. This isn't arrogance, it's the embodiment of inner strength. Confidence isn't just about how you appear to others, it's about how you feel within. Buddhist teachings remind us that peace and worth come from within, not from external validation. When you hold your head high, you're affirming this truth. You're choosing to respect yourself regardless of how others treat you. Consider this scenario. You're in a meeting and someone interrupts you with a dismissive comment. You have two choices. You could shrink back, letting their disrespect undermine your contribution. Or you could pause, take a breath, and respond with poise, maintaining your composure and continuing with what you were saying as if their interruption had no effect on you. Which response sends the stronger message? Standing tall is about more than physical posture. It's about your mental stance as well. It's about refusing to let someone else's negativity dictate how you see yourself. This practice aligns beautifully with the Buddhist teaching of anatta, or non-self, which reminds us that we are not defined by others' perceptions or judgments. Our true essence exists beyond the labels or criticisms others may try to place upon us. Let me share a story to illustrate this. A woman I once worked with was constantly belittled by her manager in front of the team. While others might have wilted under the pressure, she responded differently. Every time he spoke down to her, she met his gaze calmly, nodded, and continued with her work as though his words were irrelevant. Over time, the dynamic shifted. The manager's attempts to belittle her became less frequent, and her colleagues began to look to her as a leader. Her confidence was unshakable, and it transformed the way others saw her, and ultimately, how they treated her. Here's something to think about. What if every moment of disrespect was an opportunity, not to prove yourself to others, but to demonstrate your unwavering belief in yourself? How would your interactions change if you approached each situation with the mindset, this is a chance to embody my worth, not to seek it from anyone else? When you stand tall, you're not just protecting yourself from disrespect, you're setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated. People who habitually disrespect others often do so because they sense vulnerability. They thrive on the idea that their words or actions can make you feel smaller. But when you refuse to shrink, when you rise above their negativity, you disrupt their script. You show them that their attempts to undermine you are futile. There's also a deeper, almost spiritual aspect to this practice. In Buddhism, there's a concept called metta, or loving kindness. Standing tall is not just an act of self-respect, it's an act of kindness toward yourself. It's a way of saying, I care enough about myself to hold my ground, to honor my worth, and to show up in the world with confidence. And when you embody this kindness toward yourself, it radiates outward, inspiring others to do the same. Let's add a touch of curiosity. What would happen if, the next time someone disrespects you, you didn't just stand tall physically, but also mentally? What if, instead of reacting with frustration or defensiveness, you met their words with calm confidence, silently affirming to yourself, their opinion doesn't define me. I know who I am. How might this shift the entire interaction? And how might it transform the way you see yourself? Confidence is magnetic. When you stand tall and embody your worth, people take notice. Even those who may have disrespected you begin to see you in a different light. But more importantly, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop waiting for others to validate your value and start living as though your worth is unquestionable, because it is. So the next time someone tries to bring you down, resist the urge to shrink or retaliate. Instead, take a deep breath, straighten your posture, and hold your head high. Let your presence speak for itself. Let your confidence become a quiet, unshakable force. And remember, respect begins within. When you respect yourself, you teach others to do the same. Standing tall isn't just about how you face the world, it's about how you embrace your own power. As you journey through life, disrespect will come your way. It's inevitable. But how you respond is entirely within your control. Imagine the power of walking through the chaos of someone else's negativity with the steady calm of a still lake. Their ripples unable to disturb your depths. This isn't just about dealing with others. It's about mastering yourself. The next time someone tests your patience or tries to undermine your worth, remember this. Their words are not a reflection of you, but of them. Let your stillness be your strength, your calmness be your clarity. And in that quiet power, you'll find something unexpected, a deeper understanding of both yourself and the world around you. Now here's a question to leave you pondering. What if every moment of disrespect was actually an invitation? An invitation to demonstrate your self-respect, practice patience, and rise above the noise. How would your life change if you embraced that perspective? The choice is yours, and the possibilities are endless. Let your silence speak louder than words, and let your calmness redefine what power truly means.